and welcome back to Tauri. We've returned from the summer break with a little bit more optimism than when we left it, although we were quite optimistic in those last couple of races before the break, and, well, we won't talk about how those panned out. The reason for the optimism, though, is because we now have all 4 of the new pieces under the new strategy of optimizing their performances. There's still obviously a 6th factor in that, which I'm not sure I've got round to yet, but we've already had the front wing, but now we have the underfloor and the side pods, which have now been fully manufactured, which was the problem before. And then we also had the rear wing and the chassis, which were designed the day after Belgium, and now have also been manufactured to put on the car for Netherlands. We are designing a suspension and we are designing another side pod, almost by accident actually, I think, because I didn't realize we had one already. But they will be probably the last pieces we actually design because pretty much everything else, apart from the rear wing, puts more effort into the cornering, and that's what's being taken back by the regulations next year. So we'd rather focus on research on those parts rather than design. Rear wing only really focuses on the velocity sections. Suspension really helps with brake cooling and dirty air tolerance and things like that. And side pods similarly factor in mostly on cooling, but also a little bit more on cornering than the other parts, but they're mostly kind of specialized for cooling purposes. So it's trying to avoid those parts which are going to be hit by the regulations and putting them in research as soon as we hit the next ATR period, which is not far off. I think it actually might be after this weekend. And if I get fully out of the way so you can see the ranking of that, by the way, total extra weight obviously now down, engine cooling now 5th. Cornering, we're kind of stabilizing as not the worst, but not near the best. Most crucially there, you saw it in the raw stats. We were 10% above the average in DRS effectiveness first. Acceleration remains 3rd and top speed doesn't remain fantastic, but we're not too far off the average there. And similarly, we're nowhere near as far off the average in cornering as we once were. High speed, weirdly actually, we might be now technically closer to the field in low speed than high speed when it was the other way around before. And we have slipped back a little bit in terms of brake cooling and dirty air tolerance. We're now below the average on those from the last time we really looked at that, but still close. And that's what the new suspension will focus on anyway. So, and I believe that's the last part we haven't done with a truly specialized focus. So that should give us the full round. It is in fact designed after the Dutch Grand Prix. It won't be ready for Italy, but both the suspension and the side pods will be designed by the end of the Italian Grand Prix. Side pods might take a couple of races to actually be produced. Suspension, just because it is ready before the Italian Grand Prix, has those extra few days in production. So we might have that ready for Singapore, which is in 2 weeks after that. So we are looking to be a little bit more competitive in Netherlands, and I have heard that Netherlands is kind of one that you can qualify well in if you optimize yourself. So I've got my fingers crossed here that we can break away, hopefully, in the second half of the season from these 2 pointers. We've also re-chosen their development strategies to try and focus on things that might be more effective, notably smoothness as well, which is appearing to be possibly the best attribute this year than with braking. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a specific focus in terms of driver development that includes both smoothness and braking. You can have cornering and smoothness, you can have cornering and braking, you can have smoothness and reactions, you can have smoothness and control, but you can't have smoothness and braking, control and braking on reel to wheel there. But in the interest of trying to get Alex's smoothness where it really should be, quite frankly, and his accuracy up, we're going to be training him on wet track, which sounds a little bit counterintuitive as a overall strategy, but it deals with the 4 things that he probably needs the most of right now. His braking attribute isn't terrible, whereas Yuki's control has already gone up to 74 since the last look at this. Similarly, Yuki's control was quite bad, and his smoothness and adaptability kind of need to be improved. His accuracy, weirdly, is 89, but also similarly, his braking is already 82, his cornering is already 82, so he's pretty solid on the raw pace. But yeah, accuracy, hilariously, is actually really high. His other consistency things aren't as good, but then his accuracy is just superb for some reason. But I will see you for the Dutch Grand Prix qualifying. Well, welcome back to the Dutch Grand Prix, where things have gone a little wild in the interim. Max Verstappen caused an incident in practice 3, which took Ocon out, so he's got a penalty. I think Tsunoda binned it in his own regard in practice 2, because nobody got a penalty for that one. Bottas had a penalty coming out of practice 1, so I don't know if he was responsible for Nick de Vries being out, or if Nick de Vries binned it on his own, but yes. Nick de Vries crashed out practice 1, Tsunoda crashed out practice 2, and Ocon crashed out practice 3, but that was by the help of Max Verstappen, who, in his home race, now has a penalty. Unfortunate. The saving grace for Tsunoda is the fact that he's only cost us a front wing and a chassis. The chassis is slightly more important because we don't have any more spares now, but we were already building a new one for the next race anyway, so we'll be back to 3 next race. And the engine parts I was using were already all sub 40% to begin with, and I think they only lost like 2 or 3% in the crash, so they're still all usable for practice purposes for like one more practice maybe. All I've lost is essentially one practice's worth. He still got up to 94% acclimatization, and his car part knowledge obviously 83. That was the risk, by the way, because that started at 33 because of 4 new car parts. I had to send Alex out for way more than I would have liked, because he did at least 25 laps at 100% acclimatization, which of course is just begging for an accident. Gets them just into the very, very high confidences, but those marker points actually aren't that relevant. It's just a continuous scale. It's kind of weird those marker points are there when it's actually a sort of a full scale. It's not just this gives you 1, this gives you 2. There are variations within those sections. Now, my experiment in Belgium might have actually damaged the engine more than I would like. So I'm not sure I can get away with that. But it was also a sprint weekend, so got to factor that in. They seem to do more damage. Because we lost 10... Actually, that's the point. We lost 10% on the ERS we put in Alex's car on that sprint weekend at Austria. We lost 8% on Yuki's ERS, which we put in at that race. We lost 30% on the gearbox in that one race as well, with the sprint. I mean, thankfully, they're only a million, but we are going to have to sort of be a little bit more consciously aware of the cost cap. We've got about 30 million in hand. And we're not really, we're not designing, we're only doing sort of manufacturing to replace and build those couple pieces that are still coming in. But so manufacturing wise, we've not got a huge amount left, hopefully. Probably about 10 to 15 on that front. Probably 5 million in engines. Because I think Alex's engines can get to the end of the year. I'm not sure about his ERS. And if there's no incidents, his gearboxes can get to the end of the year. Yuki's engines, obviously, I'm a little bit concerned by. But similarly, I think that ERS can get to the end of the year. And I think his gearboxes can get to the end of the year as well. So you've got to be careful of these emergency parts now. So we'll use our usual strategy here. Certainly gone faster than Bottas. And the second lap is even better. 1:11.2, followed by Yuki's 1:11. Wow, actually, that was like a full second faster in the end. He went from 1.1 off to 1 off. I'm actually concerned that Bottas is... I'm actually concerned the Alfa Romeos have brought upgrades, by the way. They seem to be a lot better in practice, and well, he's gone faster than Magnussen. Okay, I know we've brought upgrades as well, but I don't want to get cocky here, folks, but I'm not certain we need to run again, so I'm not going to. I still think these 5 would be in the bottom 5 even regardless. So Norris is going to do better than Piastri, I imagine, but here we are. That essentially panned out the way I thought it would. I was told that qualifying here could be potent if you optimize yourselves. 2 laps, used tyres. Bottas through. That might be the first time an Alfa Romeo is through to Q2. Because I don't think even in the situations where they've just done 1 lap. I'm not quite sure, but I'm not sure why, but they've just done 1 lap. Actually, did they do 2 laps though? And I didn't recognize it. Yeah, they did 1 lap, which they shouldn't have done. They should have done 2. But even so, Albon's done 1 lap at a similar pace to Hülkenberg. I know it's a short lap, but we do feel stronger regardless, and we are still ahead of Bottas as well, which is key. That's actually decent information to have, like even on a non-optimal lap. We are 13-14 admittedly still, but closer. And we certainly don't need long if we're going to do a optimized final run as well. Probably sub 2 minutes. In fact, people are coming out now anyway. I'm not sure they'll get across the line, some of them, because they won't be doing optimizing. We're not going to have such a strong confidence either just because we've only done the 1 lap. But you can see here, he's got more confidence, but not very high confidence. But I think realistically, because if we just wait for that message to get out of the way, because the AI strategy doesn't push the tyres from really here, they're not going as fast or momentum hasn't built all the way around the banked curve up the main straight. And considering the lap includes quite a lot of straight after the start-finish line, that's the reason why it's potent here in particular. So it's those tracks where getting that momentum up by the start-finish line really matters. Bahrain would have been one of them, actually, at the start of the year. Spain would have been one of them. You know, those kind of tracks where that first sector, you get such a boost from having those warm tyres and the speed, quite frankly, as I immediately forget to do that for Albon because I was looking at Yuki. Whoops. But we can actually see the difference, really. That serves me right. I mean, Albon's still done a purple first sector, even though I forgot to put his fuel and ERS on. I suspect Yuki's about to do the purple, though. Yes. I'm trying to work out where people have just moved from there, but Stroll and Hülkenberg, I don't think have improved. They are still in 11th and 12th. Bottas is just ahead of Albon. I don't know if any people didn't get across the line in time there. But Albon, a better middle sector as well. Now, I'm not expecting purples in the middle and last sectors, but that first sector, like I say, if you optimize your lap, really, really, really key. Albon goes just 10th. Yuki's going to put him 11th, I think. That is a tad unfortunate. If I'd paid attention there a little bit more to Albon, that's my bad. Yuki goes 3rd. That's the proof in the pudding right there. But it does allow us to test this going forward, because if Yuki gets stuck with a confidence issue, we'll find out what's actually better for drivers in the long run. Remarkably, literally nobody has come out of the pit before Yuki's even started his flying lap on his used tyres, so he's going to get round this completely cleanly for 1:11. Slightly confused by Verstappen, but I suspect there's a hindrance there. Perez and Alonso do go faster than Yuki, so I don't feel bad about that. Trying to go as late as possible with Yuki there. I mean, driver's still coming out. Russell has also done his flying lap at the end of this session and has improved to go ahead. We'll see how much distance Yuki gains on this Ferrari around this last corner to see. That's the difference. Look how far back that Ferrari is starting that lap. But everything on deploy, this is his actual flying lap. That back curve looks really cool in the Vita Cam in particular. But you can see how much distance he built on that Ferrari around that final corner. That's the difference in that first sector. He's gone purple again. Higher confidence, fresher tyres. Hamilton improves to 6th, still behind Yuki. If there's any chance we can hold on here, this is going to be superb. Do get the feeling it's going to be a confidence batterer. Ocon stays 9th, Magnussen stays 10th. Looking at Verstappen really primarily. Might be the next one across the line. No, that was Perez, who doesn't improve. Yuki's on a better middle sector as well. Maybe get a slight slipstream off that Aston Martin that's going in the pits. Yuki gains a 10.5. That's the difference that confidence makes. Did Sainz just improve there? I think he did. Leclerc improves to 2nd, as you'd expect. That's a little bit better, actually. To be fair, the more cars that get past us, the better at this point. Because less cars that are like supremely fast, the Ferraris, the Red Bulls, those kind of cars. The more of those cars that are in front, the less confidence Yuki's going to lose over the course of the race. Verstappen doesn't improve. Verstappen had already done his flying lap. So bizarrely, this is the first time that both Mercedes have qualified straight from a qualifying session in the top 10 since Canada. They both started the Austrian Grand Prix in the top 10 because of the sprint, but the actual qualifying session has seen either George or Lewis be outside of the top 10 since then. But Max will start this race outside the top 10 because of its penalty, which would be 3 places because of it being an incident. So he'll start behind Albon, actually, which I don't like. I don't know where his pace went in Q3 either. That just vanished. And I don't really know where Alonso's came from, because or Leclerc's for that matter. But either way, it'll be Fernando Alonso starting the Grand Prix on pole. His first and only pole of the year so far, when Lance Stroll starts 13th. He doesn't even get the benefit of Max Verstappen's penalty. It's quite funny. Dry race. 1 stop is viable, but I suspect 2 stops are faster. They are. It's a relatively incident-heavy Grand Prix, and the fact that 3 push only just gets us there both times, probably the reason to do this. Just to try and keep pace up, I'll probably come in a couple laps earlier, or intend to with Yuki, just to balance them out a little bit. In fact, I might even go 1 lap even earlier. I know it's going to put another second on there, but just because he's going to push his tyres at the beginning, we might do that. Incidents are likely. We'll also underfuel by 2 laps from the beginning. It's a 72-lap race, and it's 1.4 kilograms per lap, so plenty of opportunity to gain all that back. So Yuki starts 5th, Alex will start 10th, both in the top 10 because of Max Verstappen's penalty.
The drivers are ready, and the crowds are waiting. It's the Dutch Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
I can see that Russell is on a hard tyre, so he's doing a strategy that wasn't even presented as an option. As Tsunoda challenges for 4th up front, we should probably have a look at him. The medium-running Carlos Sainz has been displaced by Yuki Tsunoda there, and there is a virtual safety car immediately. Zhou Guanyu involved, or is it Stroll? It's at the back. We'll watch this. It says multiple cars involved, but I think it might just be these 2. Ooh, that so could have easily been 2 others. As Piastri nearly clips the car ahead and Bottas threads the needle. It's just a virtual safety car. Both cars, I think, got underway. No, Piastri's out. Ironically, the pre-race focus was on Oscar Piastri, starting in 18th. It says, but with a good strategy, who knows? Immediately out. So we're gaining fuel back instantly. Piastri has the penalty, but he's out. I think it automatically kind of conserves everything anyway, but my one concern here is that Tsunoda is going to restart this more than a second out. I think he got caught out a little bit. Like, obviously he's maintaining that gap to Perez right now, but I think that gap looks bigger than it is because we're driving slower, so the checkpoints are coming further apart, if you know what I mean, because the checkpoints are distance-based, but obviously if you're going slower, then there's more time between the 2 cars that passes. So it's the same distance between the cars, but the time is higher. So once we actually restart, we'll probably actually end up looking a little bit closer than we are now, but we've already regained ourselves 1 lap's worth of fuel, pretty much. This VSC is lasting forever. I know it's meant to be accurately simulating how long it would last, but Zhou Guanyu's going. There we are. Yeah, we're literally 1 lap under now. And Yuki's tyres have gone a tad cold. So I'm concerned by Yuki Tsunoda here because his tyres have gone cold. So that can punish him on this restart. It's green just as we hit a corner, so that might just work out for Yuki Tsunoda. Yes, he kind of got the benefit of that a little bit. Sainz a fraction but further behind than he was before. But we need to get Yuki these tyres up. I wonder if DRS will be activated. It is. And that DRS has dropped Sainz outside the second. Not even doing any avoid curbs shenanigans here. Yuki Tsunoda is just legitimately running in fourth and on the tail of Perez, who's also on softs. Now, I know as soon as I take off the deployment ERS-wise, that seems to be a huge factor, by the way, ERS. Tsunoda's challenging Perez. Sadly, he did it poorly and Perez got the DRS. Thankfully, he didn't lose too much time and Sainz remains more than a second behind. And I think Perez has turned things up because he's just disappeared. Alex has got some confidence. Yuki's obviously confident at this point as well. So we'll slowly fall into the clutches of Sainz, I imagine now. Well, if we can hold on to Sainz, that'll be superb. Verstappen actually remains 11th, surprisingly, which is where he would have started. We're running 4th and 9th. We're in a very good spot as things stand. Magnussen has taken Albon, sadly. Pretty certain we can't really push that now. Verstappen overtakes Albon literally there as well. So Verstappen's finally making a move. It'll give Albon the DRS for the time being, but the sooner Verstappen gets through Magnussen, the better. And we're actually fighting for 10th, really, with Albon. I think realistically, with Tsunoda, we're fighting for 8th. I do think the two Mercedes will get through. Oh, sorry. We're fighting for 9th because of Verstappen. I forgot about him in all this, in Yuki's race. But it's trying to balance, it's trying to work out what's the best thing for our drivers here. Is it going aggressive or is it going like super attack mode with avoiding curbs? Is it a mixture of both? Trying to work out the balance is... I just realised Alex has been deploying this entire time, which is why he's struggling now, because Ocon's had an incident and he has dropped to 18th. So the fight is now for 8th with Tsunoda. It's got to be said, 12 laps in, I'm not seeing the replay of Ocon's crash, and I don't think I've been offered it yet. But it's got to be said, 12 laps in, Yuki Tsunoda is doing quite well. I mean, he's dropped to 6th now with Hamilton overtaking him there, but he's been fighting with Hamilton. We've not actually looked at any of these highlights. We haven't seen any overtakes by our drivers. They've just been overtaken. I didn't see the reverse of this. But I think we are stronger. I mean, we should be stronger. Our DRS is really strong, let's not forget as well. We are 10% above the average. So staying in a DRS is so much easier. We just got to stay within DRS range. And there's this little DRS bit down here as well, which is going to be so helpful in that respect. Because it's from turn 1 round to this second DRS. That's the bit that we have to stay within a second, because from that point onwards, our DRS is keeping us in contention. Because then we get the long DRS up the main straight as well. I'm not sure if it's wrong as well, because it seems to start on the banking. I don't know if they changed that this year. But Albon, you can see, has dropped off Magnussen, unfortunately, 2 seconds. So I'm going to try something with Albon. And then we're kind of splitting the approaches here. I'm going to see if Albon gets closer to Magnussen on 5 push with curbs, because he's under the temperature range already. But he is also recovering here a little bit, although he's just immediately just been overtaken by De Vries, which won't help this experiment. Now, Russell's taken Tsunoda. He's not held on. I think it's probably actually the topping up of ERS that has done him there in particular. It's just because I knew they were running around on 0, so take him off that. He'll be able to contend with Russell a little bit more. Verstappen, realistically, I want Verstappen to come through. I wasn't expecting Stroll to be that potent that early, really. I think De Vries has turned things up because he's just cut that gap to Magnussen immediately. And De Vries is a lot better on his tyres, but he may have started on a fresh set and Magnussen may not have. But Tsunoda's softs are so much better than everyone else's. Because he had a fresh set? I don't know. Tsunoda has lost Russell. Now, we could just be in a phase where they've decided to go for it, which is fair enough. I'm expecting Max Verstappen to get Yuki Tsunoda up here, but Tsunoda isn't far off the optimum pit stop time. Now, the thing with Yuki, of course, is if we're still sticking to his original pit stop lap, then he actually appears to be contending with Verstappen beyond this, but Verstappen gets the DRS overtake at last. But the fact it's taken this long has very much mitigated the confidence loss from Tsunoda, because he's putting in fast laps, which is keeping his confidence up, even though he's been overtaken a few times now. But realistically, he's only been overtaken by the two Mercedes and Verstappen at this point. So his confidence, whilst lower than it was at the start of the race, is still high. And as you can see here, he's following Max Verstappen quite okay. And he's angry that he's not overtaken Max Verstappen there. But we can burn the rest of these tyres now. We can go over their thresholds. It seems at some point, oh, maybe this lap, maybe we'll get the highlight for this in a moment now, but he's got Magnussen, but hasn't got De Vries somehow. There it is. Oh, so De Vries was already past Magnussen at this point. So worth noting, of course, that Albon's on mediums here rather than softs. So he's going to have the better of these two in the next stint or the stint after this. because they're going to have to go on to mediums at some point, and Albon's only going to be doing softs for the rest of this race. Alonso's in, so same as Tsunoda here, who isn't avoiding curbs at this point in time. So Albon can drop back down again and can no longer avoid curbs because Alonso's pitted and come straight back out behind Albon, which is not going to be great for his confidence. But the fact he's overtaken De Vries will be. Yeah, there's Alonso coming out on soft, which is not helpful.
Completes the move.
And going off the track in the process. Fernando, you're okay there, mate. But we'll watch Yuki Tsunoda still trailing. Oh, Yuki's still in Verstappen's DRS. I think Verstappen's on mediums, isn't he? Oh no, he's on softs. He might pit now anyway. Oh no, because Perez is in the pits. Ooh. Do you reckon they're going for another pit stop? No, they're coming in. Look, but Verstappen's on 30% mediums, 30% softs. Whilst he's got the DRS, I'm bringing him in now. Oh, Verstappen did come in. It looked like they were going back in those pit crews, but a 2.2 second, that's the fastest we've done all year. We stay behind Max Verstappen as well, crucially, but now on the worst compound. I thought we were ahead of Alonso there for a second. That confused me a lot. We're ahead of Stroll. Actually, have we gained on Stroll? Because Stroll was in our DRS before he pitted. He's just about still in the DRS, but not by much. I think we've gained a little bit on Stroll there. We gained massively on Magnussen, because it looks like he's pitted. Wait, has Magnussen... It says Magnussen has pitted. Did he pit that lap? Was he just that far behind Yuki Tsunoda? No, he's on 88% softs. When did he pit? Maybe he pitted that lap onto used softs. That's the only explanation of what's just happened there. So here's the thing. If we allow Alonso to get past Albon, he might be able to stay with him. Perez has a penalty all of a sudden. Hello, sir. Both drivers continue. And it's only a yellow flag, not a virtual safety car. Because I would have been tempted to go on medium with Alex if there had been a safety car there. Ooh, was that 3 involved? And Perez somehow has got that penalty. Was he involved with the original contact? Because it looked like all 3 were involved there. Did he accidentally put Russell into his own path by hitting Hamilton? Because I think all 3 of them took damage there. Wait, I'm confused. There were 3 vehicles there. Who was the 3rd vehicle involved in that? Because Hamilton and Leclerc Leclerc just came out of the pits, so I think it was Hamilton. So I think it was Hamilton, Russell and Perez, and I think Perez hit Hamilton and then Russell bounced into him. So he ended up playing himself, essentially. But Perez is pitted already. That's how fast Perez is. I'm confused why Tsunoda was so far off Verstappen there for a second. Is it 12 seconds? Just a yellow flag. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. Stroll's having to go at Yuki. He's on soft tyres, actually. This could be useful for Yuki. He's got the tyres up to temperature. Surprisingly, Albon is ahead of Alonso still. Somehow, Albon's held Alonso up for a lap. Let him past, Alex. I can't tell him to rarely defend because Gasly's behind. But Alonso just needs to get past. Well, Albon's unintentionally ruining Alonso's race here. Perez comes out behind Tsunoda now, but it is a Red Bull. Although he's actually come out miles behind. He had such a delay because he had the penalty on top of a front wing change. He's come out second last. Still only about 20 seconds behind Tsunoda. I suspect he'll still finish ahead of Tsunoda. Thank you, Alonso. We'll have the DRS, though, up the main straight. This could get rid of Gasly for Albon. Well, that's how good our DRS is. It nearly got us the overtake back on Alonso. Just attack whilst you're following him there, please, Alex. See if you can stay within the second for... Nope, never mind. Tsunoda, meanwhile, is in Bottas's DRS, who hasn't pitted. Oh, he's separated Stroll, and the people who haven't pitted yet have separated us from Stroll accidentally, which isn't helpful. Took the timing bar the wrong way around there. Yuki, mate. You'll probably end up overtaking him in a place that isn't actually an overtaking spot, normally. Or DRS if... Yeah, he's allowed Magnussen to get caught up. This straight is actually probably easier to overtake on. There we are. That's Yuki Tsunoda dealing with Bottas at last. There's another car ahead. That's Norris. It's worth saying, these vehicles are the vehicles we've been fighting with all year, and they're effectively a pit stop down, because Norris and Bottas haven't pitted yet. I was about to say Weiss Verstappen behind Albon, but it is Tsunoda he was fighting with earlier on. So we got to do the same with Norris, who is also biblically slow, without letting the Haas through as well. The Haas is on softs, it's worth saying, so we're getting close to Albon's pit stop lap. He does have Gasly for company, but he's only 5 seconds behind Russell in 5th. Yeah, there goes Magnussen. I kind of want him to allow that to happen, because he might be better dragged along by Magnussen on a soft right now, as there's an incident. It's not Ocon again, is it? Well, another incident. There's Ocon in the ground. That's turn 1, I think. Virtual safety car. Where's Alex? In you come, Alex. Perfect timing as well, because Gasly was right on his back. We'll watch what happens. It's just of his own accord there. Actually, about to be lapped, I think. This was a slight clipping issue last year as well. They've clearly not fixed that. Doesn't really matter because, you know, unless you crash there, you don't really want to be over there. But yeah, perfect timing to get Alex in. But Alex into the pits. Hamilton into the pits. Russell into the pits. Sainz into the pits. 4 people benefiting there. Joe in the pits, but, you know, he's at the back anyway. 3.2, we had an error. What was the error? Front left.
Hang on, what's happening here?
It looked like they could get the tyre on. That didn't really look like much of a problem. I mean, 3-point Tauri isn't awful, particularly under a safety car, but he's directly behind Yuki now, thanks to that. Arguably on a better strategy. De Vries and Gasly still haven't pitted. So they are effectively running 9th and 10th. It's still Hulkenberg and still Perez behind. So to lead a Gasly is less than a pit stop ahead, and De Vries is obviously there. We nearly got our fuel back as well. I mean, realistically, you can always keep like at least like 0.9 under before you get to the end, like last 5 laps, because you can easily recover effectively a full kilogram in 3 laps, depending on the track. Might need a few more here just because it's a short lap, but we can actually go full push after this and bring it back down to like -1. We still got half the race to go. So the crucial thing is to get Tsunoda through De Vries before Magnussen catches. In fact, actually, I might not deploy Alex because he'll get immediately within the DRS, which I kind of don't want. All right, come on, Yuki. Just for the time being, don't fight. Just for the time being, don't fight him, Alex. Just get Yuki through De Vries, who is on softs, actually. I'd be surprised if he doesn't pit. Magnussen's getting 3 seconds because De Vries held him up on 1 lap. We'll see if we can use Alex to harvest with Yuki there. Because Alex is on softs now, and now De Vries pits because of what he does. It's important to let Alex through there, Yuki. Thank you. Stay within DRS. Use that to close up. Hulkenberg is right on our tail, as is Perez already. That's depressing as hell. Gasly took forever to pit there. He's pitted now. I think he might be doing 1 stop. So Gasly's now finally pitted on lap 36, I think it was, and has come out 13th, well behind, but obviously he'll have the benefit of fresh tyres soon. Albon has closed the gap to Magnussen to 2 seconds at least. Tsunoda's on the back of Hulkenberg, who's just overtaken him, sadly. Maybe that's soft versus medium. No, it's just medium for both drivers. That's unfortunate, but Magnussen's softs are nearly gone already. And Albon's got another set of softs after this, so has Magnussen done soft medium? He must have. Oh, I've taken the fuel too hard there on both of them. But Tsunoda using the DRS to get past Hulkenberg, or put his nose in at least. Albon's got in DRS of Magnussen as well. Up ahead there. You can actually see them, I think. Good lad, Yuki. There's Perez directly behind, just to be terrifying. He's intimidating us, I believe the phrase is. Okay, Alex, calm down, mate. But we are effectively fighting for 9th and 10th. I know Perez is there. Are we fighting for 9th and 11th? Are we fighting for 10th and 11th, realistically? Is Perez going to get... I said Perez was going to get through us, by the way. He was remember when he was 20 seconds down after his pit stop? I said by the end of the race he'll be ahead of us. It's lap 40. Perez has gained 20 seconds in 14 laps. That's depressing. So Tsunoda obviously can't really clear Hulkenberg at this point, but Alex is coming from a long way back to try and deal with Magnussen here. We might have to get him a little bit closer. Magnussen is losing Russell, sadly. But look how much that DRS really helps. But the good news is we are in a different fight to the one we've been in previously. Don't overtake him before the DRS detection point, Alex. I mean, I do love the fact that I do love the giant Haas on the back of the Haas car, just to let you know who it is. All the others you have to work it out from their sponsor. But the fact that we're in the fight with the Haas and presumably Alpine when Gasly gets caught up is promising. We seem to have left the McLaren behind, at least, and the Williamses. They are a good solid 15 seconds behind. Magnussen pits that second as well. Good time to get past him as well. Get that DRS off him and get that DRS pass done. Doesn't mean we don't need to deploy or go super aggressive on our tyres, actually, for the time being. But Yuki Tsunoda leading that train of 3 still. His confidence is quite high. Personal best sector 1 from Alexander Albon as well. His confidence is nice as high. 8th and 9th before Perez makes a move as Gasly is closing. Gasly's 1-stopping. Oh, is he doing medium soft? Is he doing a medium soft much later than everyone else? Yeah, because everyone else pitted on the same lap as Alex off the mediums. Gasly just went a lot later for some reason. Russell pitted off hards initially. That's so bizarre. A little bit weird that Alex is... I mean, Alex benefited from a virtual safety car when he pitted there, but a little bit weird that he's, so far ahead as Perez makes a move on Hulkenberg. And we're about to be done, aren't we? So if Perez is making a move on Hulkenberg, this is the move to try and... This is where we go maybe a little bit attacking ourselves just to stay well ahead for the time being. Alonso and Stroll in the pits for the second time already. That's Albon past Stroll. That's Tsunoda. Well, Stroll past... Yeah, that's so many people. Gasly's caught up as well. Sorry, I need to have a look at this. Gasly's pace, the last couple of laps. 1:15.4, 1:15, like he pitted there. 1:15.4, 1:15.8, 1:15.9, 1:15.4, 1:15 flat, 1:15.5, 1:14.4. Personal best in all sectors, so it's not just DRS. Went 5/10 faster in sector 2 alone. So he just turned everything up that last lap. Meanwhile, 1:16, 1:15.9, 1:17.6, 1:16.5, 1:16.2. No wonder he's got caught up. He's on softs though. He does have the benefit of the tyres. But he did a 1:14.4, which is the fastest person out of everyone I'm intrigued to see what Alonso and Stroll do on their first laps on fresh mediums. Perez's tyres are nearly done. Don't forget he pitted again. I don't know why he changed his tyres. It seems to be mandatory, but Perez's tyres might be a little bit cooked at this point. How's Yuki doing in terms of on target for his pit stop? Bang on. Alex, actually overdoing it a little bit. No one likes to show off, Alex. I do. But yes, the two Astons have pitted for a second time, so we can't really take their positions for granted. Magnussen does concern, but he's done a 117 there, which is slower on mediums. He might do faster laps now, but... Oh, is he stuck on someone? No, he's closing on Bottas and Norris, so he might get the benefit of DRS on one of these laps soon, but he's going to be about to be held up by them. So we're actually probably gaining on Magnussen at this point because he's held up. Perez pits now. Superb work. The gap between Tsunoda and Gasly now. There, but Hulkenberg more than a second behind? No. Oh wait, Gasly just went straight through everyone there. I didn't even notice that. He got through Hulkenberg without any fuss whatsoever. Verstappen pits and comes out 6 seconds ahead of Albon still. By the way, remember when we were sort of trailing Verstappen at the very beginning, just sort of staying in his coattails a little bit? 12.5 seconds ahead and done an extra pit stop, which means he's probably gained about 32 seconds since he got past Tsunoda at the beginning of this race. We've got improvements and we can do a couple of little canny things strategy-wise in terms of in-game... Oh, hello. Yellow flag, but for whom? Is it Russell? Yeah, Russell's just driven off the track, but he's fine by the looks of things. Being hounded by Alonso. Oh, actually, he's put the damage on already by accident. Wait, he's got damage on his rear wing from earlier, and it's not being fixed, of course. So that's probably what's happened there. He is catchable. Considering Alex is only behind by a little bit, and he's got a little bit of wiggle room on these tyres to begin with, even without factoring any curb stuff that we could potentially do with him. Yeah, let it happen, Tsunoda. Let your mate through, Yuki. That's fine. Use the soft runner to your advantage. And actually, somebody making an overtake there is a novelty, really. Oh, this is much more enthusiastic for me. Although Yuki has immediately lost Gasly there, which is not helpful. Albon already closed a second on Russell. He probably did his tyres, didn't he? Yeah, his mediums are now 52%. He probably did his tyres in a little bit there. Albon has just done a... Bear in mind, he did 116 the lap before. A 115. He's got a full second faster. All right, so that's not surprising, Yuki. Stroll's just pitted, so you're pretty good there. But you're more than a second ahead of Hulkenberg. So if you stay within a second of Stroll, which you haven't done, we've entered the pit window anyway, so he's on 47% tyres, so we'll just slam these tyres regardless. As is Yuki, really. But he has completely lost Stroll now, sadly, so we'll top up with him a little bit. See if we can. It doesn't really matter, the tyres are overheating on Albon now. There's enough of a gap between the two of them, we could probably double stack if we so desired. Not quite sure why Yuki's only got used softs. Didn't think that one through, but he can't really go another lap since I pushed these tyres. Hulkenberg's 4 seconds behind Yuki now, though. Right, so we'll pay attention to Alex, and hopefully he doesn't have another error. But if Hulkenberg's pitting again, we have pitted before him there. And he's got Perez up his backside, who has pitted again already. And we actually come up behind Perez, which saves us that bother of confidence. Magnussen is going to get through, sadly. 5th fastest pit stop now, though. Ooh, we come out ahead of Magnussen, which is crucial. Who is presumably on mediums because he did soft earlier. So we should hopefully just be able to drive away from Magnussen. Albon only comes out 4 seconds behind Hulkenberg on fresh tyres. Tsunoda's obviously a bit further down. He's got Bottas to clear. But yeah, we assume Hulkenberg hasn't pitted again. Gasly's got to pit again. Russell might have to pit again. In fact, he definitely has to pit again. And we were closing on Russell beforehand, let's not forget. 40% with his broken rear wing. Albon's in with a shout here from really good points. Trying to get these tyres up to temperature. Yuki's going to have a little bit of an issue with tyre by the end of this because it seems to have thought he was on 100% to begin with. But fortunately, Magnussen did get closed up. Fight him, Alex. Fight him. Don't let him have that. Meanwhile, Bottas, who hasn't pitted a second time. Turn 1. Up the inside. Nice. Thank you, Bottas. Not for trying there. God, I'd hate to be an Alfa Romeo driver in this save. So Yuki now 8 seconds behind. But actually, if Albon could be behind by the detection point, that would be great. Because then he'll just drive off up here. Didn't quite get into the DRS range. Hulkenberg's in the pits, but so that's 10th place back for Albon. I keep forgetting to come back in this one. It's so engrossing, this race. I've got so much more management to do. And there's Russell in the pits as well. So hopefully the time we've made up, hopefully not fighting Magnussen, hasn't slowed us down there too much. Russell will come out behind Alex. And Magnussen, for that matter. Noticeably slow. So 9th and 10th for us two now. Perez ahead, obviously still driving away from us. If Gasly's got another pit stop, he'll come out well behind. If he doesn't, we've only got 6 seconds to get caught up, really. Everyone else is kind of outside of our race. I think the best we're looking for is 8th, really. Because I'm not sure Russell actually has the pace with that broken wheel wing. And we have dropped Magnussen. He went for it for a few laps, but couldn't hold on. I look forward to a full lap from Russell just to see if Tsunoda's actually closing. I presume he's gone on softs, though. Yeah, perfect softs as well. Oh, Gasly's definitely stopping again. I thought he was doing a 1-stop. maybe. But no, he's definitely stopping again. He'll be very fast towards the end, though. Albon did a 1:14.2. Gasly did a 1:15.8. It's actually looking representative for once. Did the same lap as Perez there, Albon. I'm not even pushing anything that lap, I don't think. Or maybe this is the lap he's not pushing anything. There we are, 1:15 flat. That's more like it. Ross is doing 1:14.9s with a broken rear ring. But Tsunoda's faster, crucially. By a couple of tenths, Tsunoda is faster. He's got better tyres. But the longer Gasly stays on those softs, the worse it gets for him. As we rejoin, gather a tiny bit of charge on Alex there, but we are now several seconds ahead of Magnussen. Russell's caught Magnussen, remarkably. I think he's just decided to go for a few laps there. Alex goes around the outside of Pierre, which actually does give him the inside into the banking. And that's job done, I think, for Alexander Albon. I'll rewatch that one. We do seem to be fighting with the Alpines and the Haas now. We've moved up a car bracket. And considering the overall board request is 7th, getting some points will put us clear of McLaren and Williams. Tsunoda's still 12th, sadly. But he might be able to catch Magnussen. There goes Gasly, though, now. That Albon's actually passed him. I don't know why they always wait for us to get past him before they pit. Literally everyone has done that so far this race. But Gasly comes out way behind even Tsunoda. I say way behind, 3 seconds. He will probably get caught up by the end of this race. But it's temporary 11th. So if somebody in that top 7 wants to, dip out, that would be great. Russell's going for it now, though. Doing 1:13.6s with a broken rear ring. Although he's also destroying the tyres. He's absolutely pelting the tyres. Because remember when he came out, he was like at least 20% higher than Tsunoda. It's only 14 now. He's pelted those tyres. Tsunoda's lapped as well. Can actually sort of see what they're doing. Yeah, he's destroying them. Look at that. Look at the temperatures. 119, 123, 124, 121. He's on full attack mode. Just utterly wrecking them. It's working to get up to 9th, of course, but we're wise to this now. If we can stave off his charge, Tsunoda's actually getting quite close to Magnussen. In the meantime, there's a VSC, and it is Hulkenberg, who is backwards. So was that of his own regard, or was that Pierre Gasly being naughty? Because he is facing the wrong way. I'll get the feel back as well, which was keeping an eye on there, but Hulkenberg's just out because he's facing the wrong way. I can say, there's a reason why we went 2 laps under. No, he's done it by himself. Damaged the back rear wing there. Surprised Russell did retire entirely without broken rear wing. It's the kind of thing that they do. I mean, is it worth it for either driver? I mean, Tsunoda's on 53% softs. He'd only end up behind Gasly. And right now he's behind Magnussen, who's on worse mediums, actually. It is lap 65. We'll probably get going again on lap 67. So it's only really 5 laps we've got to care about here. And I don't think he actually really has a much better pair of softs anyway. And we're watching it again for some reason. But off he goes. Whee! But Russell's destroyed those tyres. So Tsunoda's a lap down as well on fuel, so it doesn't really matter too much. Where is the leader? Just ahead of him, so it's not too far ahead. Leader did a 1:14 last lap. Tsunoda did a 1:50, so they are pulling away. That's fine. I figured they would be, but just because there's like 20 seconds gap between Leclerc and Sainz, I was a little concerned. But he might accidentally unlap himself at some point here. So we can go full attack on that fuel afterwards. The leader's not too far behind Albon, but he might just escape. With the amount of laps remaining, he might just escape being lapped. Which might be the first time. I mean, I know VSCs are being involved here, but there's no safety car, which, has bunched the field back up again. So this might be the first time on just pure pace that we might have actually not been lapped. And particularly on a short lap like Zandvoort, that's impressive. Last time we had a short lap, they lapped up all the way up to 6th. Tyres have gone cold for Tsunoda, sadly. Looking at the wrong drivers. But there's Albon with Russell in tow. Oh, that fuel has now become a problem. It's gone so much higher. We might be able to just burn it to the end of the race. I'm intrigued by Albon. Yes, Albon, all that. They've got less fuel at this point, somehow, as well, Russell. They started with 101. We started with 100. We started with less fuel than them, and they've ended up with less by the end. So they burnt more through the race. I'm just intrigued to see how the AI works and all this. They're obviously able to play. I was right. We did get going on lap 67. Just before the DRS detection point. If we can... Ooh, were we past the detection point? No. Oh, yes, I think it was. I'd be surprised it even works on Russell. So, yeah, Russell will probably go for it on the restart because he was in range. So we're going to be burning these tyres a little bit. We've got to get them up to temperature on both cars. I can't tell if Tsunoda is 1.5 seconds behind or 1 second behind Magnussen. Whoops. But he's within DRS of Magnussen. I'm pretty certain Tsunoda now. I mean, a 9th is still solid, but yeah, they're not getting lapped, I don't think. There's still 3 more laps to go, and Leclerc's not really made too much of an inroad. There goes Russell. Oh, that's a shame. Just as there's another yellow incident, but I feel like if it was a VSC or something, they'd immediately give up. So I think it's just a yellow flag as someone's done a wobbly. That counted as Albon's overtake for some reason. It's good work, really. I mean, it's a broken rear ring on Russell, but it's nice just to be competitive. Gone back in DRS, sadly, Russell, but Ninth feels relatively secure. Magnussen is 9 seconds behind Albon. It's all about Yuki and whether or not he can catch. It doesn't look like it, does it? It's also worth noting we're just starting lap 71 now because Leclerc's just starting the last lap now. So we've still got 2 full laps with Albon and Tsunoda pretty much. Well, Tsunoda's got 1 more lap, Albon's got 2. And Tsunoda has been fully left behind, sadly. It's such a shame where he started, but that's a good point. Alex hasn't been lapped, so this fuel we do have to pay attention to. Tsunoda's going to get close to Magnussen, but not close enough. Gasly actually got within 2 seconds of him by the end of this. But Albon's burning his tyres. 1 more lap to go, 1.5 seconds behind Russell. If Russell just gives up on this last lap, that'll be lovely. But Tsunoda crosses the line 11th, sadly. What was looking like maybe double points ended up not being, but I mean, if Albon got in DRS range by this checkpoint, that'd have been sensational work from him, but no. Although there's a lot of DRS to go. Take that fuel off. He didn't get in DRS range there either. I can say you might be able to drag him to the line otherwise, but 9th it is, 2 points. We were fighting for 8th really, but best of the rest. Actually get to see him for once. Remember when Fernando Alonso was on pole? I know Yuki went from top 10 to 11th, but that's only because Albon benefited under VSC. He would have been probably ahead of Albon otherwise. But I'm glad it went that way around because we got a 9th rather than a 10th, which as it probably would have been if it was the other way around. But 1.1 behind in the end. So close to getting great points. And largely because Ocon crashed out, I think, but Hulkenberg was behind anyway. Those, remarkably, were the first DNFs since Canada, which shows you the scale of the problem in regards to non-finishers in this game, be it through the lack of, obviously, mechanical faults. With the prices as they are, I don't want mechanical faults, by the way. There's been much discussion regarding the mechanical faults in the background on the Discord forums. So I think there is going to be progress on the developers front on that regard, but what they decide to implement, I'm fascinated to see because there's a lot of back and forth on this because obviously putting in random mechanical faults would be huge if they don't change the pricings of the replacement parts because it's 5 million per engine. So if they blow up an engine, that's 5 million it's cost you straight away on a random chance. So they'd have to put in a way to effectively save engines or improve engines or repair engines essentially if they're going to start blowing them up randomly in races. But those are the first DNFs since Canada. But Valtteri Bottas with the storming race in the end, I did say that Alfa Romeo I think may have brought upgrades because they were a lot more competent in practice. Now Zhou Guanyu still struggled of course, but Bottas dragged that to 13th in the end from the back of the grid because he had penalties, do not forget. I don't think he qualified there. But ultimately, a good race for Lance Stroll as, you know, the order of cars kind of sorts itself out mostly, unless there's someone who makes a massive error, like Sergio Perez. It's a little bit sad that it kind of sorted itself out the way it did with Alonso. Would have liked him to be more competitive, but as it was, he started on pole and ended up about 40 seconds behind Charles Leclerc. Drivers-wise, we see Albon move up to 13th because he's the only person on 4 points now. Lando and Yuki left behind in that regard. And Bottas gets Sargent on countback because he now has 2 13th places, which Sargent doesn't. He got 13th in like Imola or something random. Probably the one where he got a fastest lap, which you can't see behind my head, but he does still have that. And constructors-wise, of course, we go 7th as well by virtue of getting 2 more points. Now, I think we might be in the top 10 for the first time in a long while. We actually had the 2nd and the 5th. We actually had 3rd and 5th fastest pit stops there. I didn't realise we got a sub 2.2. Hello, a little bit of DHL money maybe. We've got a long way to go, unfortunately, to get up the rankings, but we move up to 7th in that as well with 25 points. We could certainly get Aston Martin. Depending on if we can continue that pace up, we could maybe get Mercedes. I think the top 4 are out of sight now. But Yuki's 2nd pit stop, 2.1. It was both of Yuki's were faster than Albon's, unfortunately. And we had the sponsors here for this race as well, so they paid us out for all the good stuff we did. The 20 grand we just gave there was for Alexander Albon getting into the top 11, I think. Yeah, there we are. They turned up. We got 3 times the payout for successful sponsor guarantees, and we got all of them. Porsche wins an F2 race. Hauger and Maloney returns to that top 3 as well, for good measure. Might just check in on that. Druval is still top. Porsche now 2nd, though. Boschung, Doohan, Iwasa as the best of the Red Bull garage? I think so. Our sponsored driver in F3, Pepe Martioli, 9th, sadly, 64 points for him. But we've got a little bit of money in the bank now, but we can't really do much with it. I'm starting to be concerned the facilities are going to end up getting knocked down a peg soon, and we haven't got the money to repair them. But hopefully we can start building some money up here, as we do go for the very engine-heavy Monza next. I'm not sure we've even got enough to take a new engine, which we do need on Yuki at some point. This would be the place to take it. Sadly, we can't do that with the funds as they are. But a new ATR period opens after this, so we can do... Maybe we'll do another rear wing in terms of actual car parts. but that will be the last actual car part. The rest will go into research because, quite frankly, we can't afford to develop any more and manufacture new car parts in particular. We'll just have to replace the parts we've already got should they break or fail in inspection. But more points! This time, our optimism was warranted. It's only 2 points, but it doubles our tally. And it gives Alex his first points under AlphaTauri colours as well. 2 points apiece for our 2 drivers here. It's nice to see. If you enjoyed this race as much as I did, I feel like I was a lot more fiddly and in detail with that one, previous ones. A good sign that we've had a good race, really, when the recording's a little bit longer. But thank you for joining me. If you enjoyed this, do like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, ta-ra!